This is a corner tower of a relatively small castle in the German town of Detmold. I start with these ellipses and decide to go up and then to come down. Now, I ran into a few problems with this, and I'll just show what I did and perhaps what would have been better to have done in terms of the structure of the drawing. So I go upwards with the ellipses, taking care to make them slightly rounder as they go up. And then I tackle the detail on this somewhat conical roof, but it does curve out and then curve in again before it gets to the base. So there is a somewhat complexity in this. Trying to get the perspective of these windows in the tower correct, and then I align the corresponding architectural elements on the sides against the first one. It is a bit tricky because I haven't really drawn the first, the overall shape. And basically what I end up doing is drawing this tower roof too large for the rest of the tower. And there's two reasons why I've done that. One is I didn't mark where I think the approximate top of the tower should be, which I normally do. I did do a dot there, but it wasn't clear what that dot was for. Was that for the top of the spike or the base of the spike or what? And so I just went up way too far. And it wasn't as obvious at this point as it was later, because drawing this part of the structure first before I've drawn the rest of the tower, it was harder to get the proportions correct. It would have worked better for me given the rather complex detailing of the roof if I'd gone down the tower, and then that would have given me a much stronger sense more easily of the proportions of the roof, and it wouldn't have looked so tall and been so large. And I would have made the architectural detail smaller as well. But at this point, that's what it is, and it's not as obvious to me as it's going to become. But this, again, is why we do these quick exercises. Sometimes it means we make our mistakes quickly, not because we're drawing quickly, but because the whole process is faster, and therefore we're able to make the mistake, to realize what we've done, and work out what would have been a better way to have tackled the subject or the technique or the area or whatever. So while the drawing's not as successful as some, the exercise of having a drawing practice each morning is a spectacular success because it's teaching me things that's very helpful to know. Learning how to progress a drawing is a really important skill to have, the most helpful place to start, and so on. So I now just do this little bit of architectural detail to the right, simply because I want some context for the tower, and I know that I'm going to also border it with this tree that's there. This took me 20 minutes to draw, and you're watching the drawing part in 10 minutes. So you're watching this at double time. So you can use that cog icon if you want on your screen to halve the speed and watch me draw it in real time quite easily. So just some of the details. And now I'm working out the proportions of the lower half of the tower and the windows. And that was relatively simple from what I'd drawn. And if I'd drawn this first, it would have been relatively simple, not just to get the proportions of the tower roof correct and of the details on it, but also not to have it quite with that slight lean to the right, which again is not as extreme as it looks right now, because I also don't have my paper aligned to my photo reference on the vertical very well. So I am aligning the vertical lines on my tower, okay. It's just that the whole tower is leaning to the right compared to the tower in the reference. So a few more details coming down. This is a pretty gestural drawing, probably a little more gestural than even some of these practice exercises. But this one for me has really become an exercise in proportion and positioning. So reserving space for the tree and working out how I'm going to do this detail that appears at the ground level, and looking at the ground level in some detail for the first time. And there seems to be some ivy or something clinging to the base of the tower and then around the left corner and the side. So I finished this lamppost to get it in place. And now get this ivy done. I really don't intend to worry too much about the sides. We have this fir tree on the left-hand side, which is a great border for the left side. I think it's a wonderful silhouette edge, not particularly difficult to do, but it is a little bit time consuming because there's so much of it and it's so dark. So I do simplify it a bit. I want to just give some hint of the decorative stonework on the corner of the walls, the straight walls in this corner of the castle, just so it doesn't look too plain. I mean, it is a castle, even if it is a castle of rather modest size. So now I'm trying to just copy the effect of the silhouette of these branches. And again, they're a lovely frame. I'm not going to go as dark as they are, just playing with some of those lines. With these practice exercises, I think it's good to do them in a faster, more gestural style, rather than perhaps labouring for the finish that we would do for more considered drawings, where we're dealing with a lot of issues all at once as best we can. Here, we're trying to get a feel for the scene, a feel for what it means to capture it. We're trying to learn things quickly. So now I'm getting some value on this tree, which is going to balance the value of the fir tree on the left-hand side. And now there's just a lot of hatch work to do. So probably at least a quarter of the drawing time was spent on this fir tree and the other tree, on the non-architectural parts of the building. There's just a window here that, again, I'm becoming even more suggestive, really drawing from the negative spaces of the shadows inside. Trying to hint at a chimney there, probably not very successfully. I realise I haven't put the clock faces on the tower. And I'm pretty close to being done at this point. Just having a quick look, realised I hadn't put that final right-hand side window, which I felt did make it look a lot more finished. Working out, will I do any more? And not really. Just a little street level grass work. And then I realised I hadn't done the ivy that's going around the corner on the wall. So I do that. then that's pretty much going to be it. And then I realised how it looks like my tower is doing a Leaning Tower of Pisa. So I think, play around with it a bit and try and straighten it. G'day, I'm Stephen Travers. Well, what do you think? If we make the roof a little bit smaller, it's not too bad as an approximation of this tower. I just tilted it. Why not have a go drawing it yourself and see if you can get the proportions of the roof of the tower a bit more accurate than I did. And of course, you'll find this photo reference on my channel community page. But look, whatever you draw and however you draw it, make sure you have fun. I'll see you next time. Bye.